In this problem, this is the second exam of spring 2011. This is problem 10b. We're going to find the limit as x tends to 0 of e to the x minus e to the negative x, negative 2 sine x over x sine x. So first thing we want to do is we want to go in and we want to substitute x equals 0 in this problem so that we can make sure that we get 0 over 0, because if you don't get 0 over 0, you shouldn't be using L'Hopital's rule. So let's do that. So we get e to the 0 minus e to the negative 0, negative 2 sine 0 over 0 sine 0. So what does that give us? That gives us e to the 0, which is 1, minus 1, minus 2 times 0 over 0 sine 0. And sine of 0 is just 0. So we get 0 over 0. So that means that we can actually go and use L'Hopital's rule. So let's use L'Hopital's rule. L'Hopital's rule says what you do is you just find the limit of the derivative of the numerator. So we get the limit as x tends to 0, derivative of the numerator, derivative of e to the x is e to the x, negative, derivative of e to the negative x is e to the negative x times the derivative of e to the negative x, which is negative 1. So this changes this to e plus e to the negative x. Negative 2 derivative of sine of x is cosine x. Now in the denominator you need to use the product rule because you've got x, which is a function x times sine x. So let's use the product rule. The product rule says the derivative of the first one, which is 1, times the second one, which is sine x, plus the first function, which is x, derivative of the second function, which is cosine of x. Now again, let's go and substitute x equals 0 in there. So we get e to the 0 plus e to the negative 0. E to the 0 is 1. E to the negative 0 is just e to the 0, which is 1, minus 2 cosine of 0 is 1, over sine of 0 is 0. 0 times cosine of 1 is 0. So what are we getting here? We're getting 0 over 0 again. Okay, since we're getting 0 over 0 again, what do? We have to use L'Hopital's rule again. So let's use L'Hopital's rule again. Oh, it's this. Okay, so let's use L'Hopital's rule again, and that means that we do the same thing again. So we take the limit as x tends to 0. Let's take the derivative of the numerator, so we get e to the x. Derivative of e to the negative x is negative e to the negative x, minus 2. Derivative of cosine of x is sine x. In the denominator, derivative of sine x is cosine of x, plus, now here for x cosine of x we use the product rule. Derivative of x is 1 times cosine of x times x. Derivative of cosine of x is negative sine x. So let's substitute 0 in again. We get e to the 0, which is 1, minus e to the 0, which is 1. So we get 0 here, minus 2 times 0, which is 0. In the denominator, we get cosine of 0 is 1, plus cosine of 0 is 1, so there's 2 there, minus 0 times sine 0, which is 0, so we get 0 over 2, and that is equal to 0.